We're back with breaking news this morning. NBC News is learning multiple Secret Service agents have been put on leave after the attempt on Donald Trump's life.
We promised you that we'd do as much follow-up as we could on the scandal with the Secret Service that allowed the assassination attempt of Donald Trump to get this close to a tragedy. And of course, for the family of Corey Compatore, it was a tragedy. An actual murder took place that day. And the Secret Service, it appears, is finally taking action. Here's the breaking news from this morning about the Secret Service.
We're back with breaking news this morning. NBC News is learning multiple Secret Service agents have been put on leave after the attempt on Donald Trump's life.
Joining us now, NBC's Julia Ainsley. Julia, good morning. What do we know?
Well, we know that there are multiple Secret Service officials who have been put on leave. This is because of this ongoing internal investigation, one of many that were launched in the wake of that July 13th assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. Among those put on leave is a special agent in charge of the Pittsburgh field office. That was the field office in charge of coming up with that plan that allowed the roof that the shooter gained access to Trump from to be outside of the Secret Service's perimeter. They left that to local law enforcement, and it's not clear that they had any conversation with local law enforcement to make sure that they themselves would be on top of that roof or securing that rooftop in any way. This is something that the acting director recently said he would make sure that if anyone in the course of that investigation were found to have violated policies, that they would be put on leave and that they wouldn't wait until the end of the investigation for that to happen. Now, the exact number we don't know yet. I'm told it's around 5 or 6. That number could be changing by the day as they continue this investigation. It's not clear if these agents or officials may come back into the agency later on if they've been cleared. But for now, we're told they are put on leave, which is a form of a disciplinary action as a result of their actions taking in the planning and in the response to that assassination attempt on July 13th.
Yeah, I'm skeptical about that report for multiple reasons. I'm not so sure that going on leave is a disciplinary action, especially if it's paid leave. But secondly, I've read Susan Crabtree at Real Core Politics. She had this scoop actually late yesterday. And it appears that the person out of Washington, D.C., who actually was the person in charge of laying out the format at Butler, Pennsylvania, that woman is still on the job. It's only the people out in the field office. It's almost like they're throwing them under the bus to circle the wagons around Washington. Jim, there's a lot of suspicions right now about what happened here, and we're not getting a whole lot of answers. Does this move by the Secret Service help quell people's fears that there's something seriously broken in that agency?
It's better than nothing, but like you said, paid leave just means they're kicking it at home, going to the gym and hanging out. And unless there is actual accountability, right up to the point of the people involved with this being frog marched out of that building in shackles, I don't want to hear about the fact that, oh, we're doing an investigation and these people will not be conducting security until we're done with the investigation, which will almost certainly clear them and try to throw local law enforcement under the bus, which seems to be their plan. Even something more that we heard was damning about the way this went. The Secret Service didn't even bother to pick up radios that the local law enforcement provided them once they got tasked with the outer ring security. They offered comms to the Secret Service so they could tell them. And one of the cops was trying to tell them there's a guy on the roof with a gun. The Secret Service didn't have the radios, they couldn't hear. Somebody important needs to be fired, not allowed to resign, not anything else, no benefits, no nothing. There has to be some kind of accountability for almost getting the next leader of the free world killed at a political speech.
Yeah, Jim, and listen, the security issues are your thing. This is what you do and have done your entire career. We're almost 6 weeks from this event, and we still haven't gotten a clear answer about where the buck stopped. Like, as if there's no paper trail on the fateful decisions that were made that day. Are we to believe that this is normal operating procedure for Secret Service?
Oh, there is a paper trail. There's an electronic trail. There's all kinds of things that will say who decided to treat this as if it was, a booth at the county fair, not the former president speaking in front of an outdoor crowd. Yeah. So it's available if they want to pursue it. I don't think they do. I think they want to cover it up because this is the most embarrassing debacle in the history of a major U.S. security agency.
Akash, I've been saying for a while now, the American people, I think at this point, they're resigned to the fact that the Department of Agriculture and Education and the EPA, it's glutted, it's bloated, there's redundancy. We probably don't need half of the people, if any of the people who work in those agencies. But we've always felt that certain agencies like the Secret Service, they're the creme de la creme. And now we're seeing them, in my opinion, they're just behaving like another bureaucratic DC agency.
That's exactly right. I think conservatives have actually gotten this wrong for a long time, which is to treat things like the Secret Service and the Pentagon as though they are not also unaccountable blobs of federal bureaucracy. Now, some of the people who do the jobs in these agencies, like any other federal agency, are, I'm sure, honorable people who are doing their best to serve the American people and do the job they're tasked with doing. But to Jim's point, the people creating plans, creating strategies, in charge of executing and communicating, these are higher up people who ultimately are still unaccountable federal bureaucrats. We have seen this time and time again. People recognize the name Lois Lerner, right? She was at the head of the IRS when they got caught targeting conservative groups under the Obama administration. She retired with full pension benefits, despite the administration admitting that they did wrong in that instance. This has all the trappings of a similar situation written all over it, Larry. There's no conspiracy here. This is just the nature of our unaccountable administrative state blob at work, once again, failing to do its job properly.
Yeah, and there's also that guy, Anthony Fauci. He seemed to get a nice little retirement package there at the end of a stellar career, too. Sarah, I'm still struck by the fact that this isn't bipartisan, the outrage over this, even the curiosity over this. Yeah, Democrats played a pretty good game at one of the joint hearings, but since then, they haven't had much to say. The Secret Service is there to protect Democrats, too. And it sort of feeds into, I think, an understandable belief that because Trump was the target, some people in this town were like,
One of the big things for me here, I watched it live, it was a very honorable thing in the moment, but people like the FBI, all of these agencies are looking into it. We won't have a report until October, right before the election, at the earliest, right? And I'm a proud Pennsylvanian, a huge fan of the Pennsylvania State Police, local law enforcement, but we need to stop the blame game here. At the end of the day, this happened. Our next commander-in-chief, our former president, was almost killed, like point blank by 150 yards, right? This is just something that needs to be figured out. Democrats are probably just cheering behind the scenes. And, the most fascinating point about this is that Biden took the time to call Trump. And apparently that's all that matters. They did that. Here was this olive branch. What about everything else?
Yeah.
Nobody else cares on that side.
Yeah.
What if it was Biden? What if it was Kamala?
Well, and meanwhile, this week at the DNC, they were right back to the same old volatile, dehumanizing rhetoric about Donald Trump, saying that he was a fascist and a racist, and if he got elected, it would be our last free election. And, there are a lot of unstable people out there who hear things like that, and they think they should do something to stop it from happening. God forbid. By the way, this also comes a day after we learned of another suspect in an assassination attempt against Donald Trump was on the lam. And we're still looking for some of the people who got into the country illegally, Pakistani nationals who are linked with Iranian government officials who have put a bounty on Donald Trump's head. Maybe they should take the protection of the former president a little more seriously.